All right, quick disclaimer. If you are a big NF fan, you probably will not like this video, but please remember two things. One, do not take it personally. And two, you do not have to watch this video. So if watching this video is torture for you, just move on to something else. You don't have to watch it. All right, with that being said, welcome to the Reasonable Music Review, the show where we review music before looking at any other opinions as to avoid bandwagoning or performative opinions. This one may not be as reasonable, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Also, I got a new pop filter. What do you guys think? I think it's very vibrant and very fun. Last Friday, Michigan rapper Nate Firestein released his 7th studio record with the EP Fear. This EP deals with topics of letting yourself down, falling short of your own standards, of uncertainty about the future, of grief, fatherhood, marriage, with the cover for the EP being likely a callback to NF's debut album, Mansion, where he uses imagery of a mansion to explain the different parts of his mind and the different parts of his life. With the mansion being on fire, I'm assuming you can probably piece together what that means. So let's get into it. Let's talk about all of it. I like starting with the positives, so let's start there. So right off the bat, I think this EP is showcasing a slightly different side of NF musically than we've seen before, and I think it works really well. Compared to NF's previous works, this is more of a singer-songwriter pop cut, which is pretty cool, with both Home and Sorry being really good showcases of NF's vocal ability and some of his songwriting chops. This is a topic that I'll come back to a little bit more later, but I think NF really needed to try something different. So it was really refreshing to hear this, and I think it suits him very well. I'll say it is not exactly my thing. It's not something I'll be listening to a lot or a genre that I would consider my favorite, but I could see people liking this style, and I think it works for him and it makes sense for NF. Home and Sorry are two songs that I feel like are very artistically sincere and inspired, which is something that I think NF is pretty good at in general, whether or not you like his music. Like, for better or for worse, you can tell that NF fully believes in what he's writing about and is very passionate about what he's trying to accomplish. And I think that's admirable regardless of the artist that you're talking about. But to dive into those two songs in particular, I think Home is probably the highlight of the EP for me. It's a very sweet tribute to NF's late grandmother. NF's vocals are good. The songwriting is straightforward and effective, and it hits a lot of the emotions that it strives for. And overall, it just ends up being a very effective, sincere track. The track Sorry is very similar, with the vocals, songwriting, and emotions all being good enough, if not, slightly less impactful than Home. This song does sound very 2016, which is not inherently a bad thing. Like, that's fine, but I just found it interesting how potent that felt. Like, it just felt like 2016 coming back to life. And I think that's supported by James Arthur being on this track. If that name sounded familiar to you, it sounded familiar to me too. And it turns out it's the guy who wrote the Say You Won't Let Go song in 2016 that was so popular for a while. And his style as a songwriter is very, very of that time. So I think it kind of adds to this song sounding so 2016. Overall, the track is not my style, but I can appreciate it and I can see some people liking it. As one last note for the positives, I do think NF's rapping ability is pretty good and better than people give him credit for. Like, in terms of actual vocal performance and timbre and flow, like, he is actually a pretty effective rapper, certainly better than me or, most other people would be. And I think that's showcased on Give Me a Reason and Washed Up. But the frustrating part is that any good vocal ability is stunted by a variety of issues that we're now going to talk about. So transition into the negatives. Let's get into it. My foremost criticism of this EP and just of NF in general is that I feel like I have heard these songs a million times. And I don't say that to be hyperbolic or rude or mocking, but it's just true. A lot of the topics feel very recycled and overly similar, and the same goes for the instrumentals. I found that most, not all, but most NF songs are about one of three things. One, either like his journey towards personal growth, two, his marriage, or three, his love of the game. And those are great topics to write about, don't get me wrong. A lot of people have written about them, and those are great topics, but not every single time, and not in the exact same way every single time. You can only really write about those topics so much, and every single album has just revolved around those three. And that idea leads me to Washed Up, where NF is talking about losing his passion or losing his inspiration a little bit, or kind of not knowing what to do to move forward. And my first thought when hearing that was like, dude, you've been doing the same thing for like 15 years on every single album. Maybe that's why you feel washed up. Maybe that's why you don't have motivation. It's just because you've been doing the same thing over and over again. Like, push yourself, push your bounds, and maybe you'll find some new inspiration or find some new passion. But I think most people would get a little burnt out after writing the same songs for 15 years. So along those lines, and Give Me a Reason, NF writes, I want the critics to tell me that they thought I was better before. To be honest with you, I don't think a critic would ever say that about NF because he's been remarkably consistent his entire career. That's not the issue. The issue is the opposite. Like, it's just been the same for 15 years. One of the most special things about hip hop, at least from my perspective, is its room for experimentation. Like, each Kanye album sounds different than the one before, and every single Jay-Z album has a slightly different feel, and every Kendrick album has a different feel and deals with different topics and deals with different producers. So when I was listening to this EP and when I've listened to NF before, I'm just like confused. I'm like, why are you not trying to do different things and experiment with different sounds? Like, I respect that on this album you're doing more of a pop thing, a little bit. Like, that's cool, and that shows some variety. But overall, every album still deals with a lot of the same topics. It still has the Christopher Nolan-esque cinematic sound, which is cool, and I can respect that, but not on every single album, on every single song. Like, you just got to change it up a little bit. Like, maybe if you push yourself, if you try new things, if you experiment a little bit, you won't feel so washed up. Like, you'll have some sort of new passion to push forward with. Like, the greats, so to speak, didn't get to where they are by doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, Bob Dylan would not be Bob Dylan if he had stayed in his, like, Woody Guthrie impersonation phase. Like, don't get me wrong, that phase is amazing. There's so many good songs and records from that phase, but he would not be as influential as he is if he had stayed in that. Like, you have to push yourself. You have to try new things and just expand. And the reason I even bring all this up, or that I even care, is that the song Washed Up actually made me kind of sad. Like, the I think I missed my moment line is depressing. That's like so pitiful. And at least like on a musical level, I'm not gonna like touch on all this personal stuff, but at least on a musical level, I feel like it's a very easy issue to solve. Just like push yourself, try something different. But I will give NF credit for acknowledging his redundancies and for trying something a little new on this EP. I think that's a step in the right direction. So to move on from that, I'm gonna bring up a point that I brought up in my AJR video that AJR fans really did not like, and I don't expect NF fans to like either, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. All right, so this is kind of a complex point, so bear with me, but in my opinion, granted, I'm nobody, but in my opinion, if you are going to write about depression or just mental health in general, and you are not going to write about it in a constructive way, like i.e. not provide a solution to the problem that you're talking about, I think you have to write about it in one of two ways. So if you're not going to write about it constructively, you have to either write it, one, in an original way that other people haven't before, or two, in a way that employs enough artistry and poetry to really make the listener think about that topic and consider it in a new light or learn something new about themselves. If the song accomplishes neither of those two things, I consider that moping music that does nothing positive for the listener. Before you write me off, let me give you an example to kind of illustrate the point. Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. So that's a song that's dealing with a breakup and not really knowing how to move forward in life and just having to kind of accept this tragedy that has really shaken up your life. Now, those are not inherently original topics. A lot of people have written about those, so it does not satisfy the first category. But what it does really, really well is the second category. Like, the lyrics of the song are so beautifully written and the metaphors are so well used and the symbolism is so tasteful that it makes a song about pretty unoriginal topics into something that's really impactful and thought-provoking and really makes you think. And also the way that Stevie Nicks writes it makes you really have to think about it. Like, it's going to take you a couple listens to really absorb what she's trying to say and really even just understand what she's trying to say on a surface level. And the song is not necessarily constructive. It doesn't have any sort of like call to action or solution to the problem that it's presenting, but nevertheless, you're better for having listened to it because it's caused you to think about yourself and your own life and maybe think about these topics in a new way. I know NF fans will really not like me saying this, but this EP does not do that. These lines do not do that. These songs do not do that. I'm sorry, but it's just moping music. And I really want to get this across. I'm not trying to be dismissive of NF's emotions. I understand that he's a real person that is actually dealing with these things and processing these emotions, so I'm not trying to like dog on those emotions. But all of this like really bothers me really for two reasons. One, like on an artistic level, I feel like he could write about these topics so much better and utilize so much more poetry to really make these ideas more impactful and less on the nose. And then two, on like an ethical standpoint, I just feel like writing about topics like this in this way is just kind of irresponsible. Like, when people look up to you as much as people look up to musicians, you have a responsibility after their well-being in their hearts. And I feel like just creating this moping music does not do anything for anybody. It's not good. I don't like it. Once again, I don't say that to be rude to any NF fans listening or NF himself and his personal emotions, But I just think that's the case. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. All right. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but that's just how I feel. So another positive example of what I'm talking about in music is ironically found in the song that NF references in Fear, The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. That song is a very tasteful, subtle, complex social commentary and kind of really dives into what people were feeling and thinking during a very tumultuous time, not some incredibly on the nose, surface level description of like very common emotions. And I really want to stress, I'm not saying that like writing about your emotions and personal growth is bad. So many artists have done that so well. I think even NF himself has done that really well in times prior. But once again, you can only do it so many times, and it's very clear to me that NF has exhausted this topic, and I don't think he is writing about these topics in any sort of new way. Like, he's kind of self-plagiarizing at this point. Like, I don't think that there is any more that NF is adding to this conversation, which goes back to the topic earlier. Just try something different. Make some goofy song, like the Maui Wowie song that's going everywhere. Make Maui Wowie. Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie, that Maui Wow. Just make something silly. Just like experience, like just ugh. And I'm not saying that because NF is too edgy and it's too unradio friendly and I can't take it. Like, no, you have exhausted everything that you can say about this topic. Just do something different. Like, experiment, explore, to go out, do other things. Try writing about the world. Try writing stories. Try writing about other people. Like, just, ugh. All right, that was getting a little ranty, and I'm sorry. Let's move on to some rapid-fire specific criticisms of the album. I didn't write these ones down on my little paper, so I got to go back and find it. I think the knock-knock sound effect on Fear is just silly. Like, there's no reason for that, man. Just take it out. I also think the inflection that he puts on while singing in this song and at other times throughout the album is just like a little silly. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Like, why say darkness like that? Darkness. Like, I don't know, just say it normally. And Who I Was, I think Machine Gun Kelly, which, by the way, kind of an odd feature to throw in there, but, you know, whatever, you do you. I think the lyrics are actually, like, sincere and fine on this part, but his flow is very fast and awkward, and a lot of the lines don't rhyme very cohesively. It's kind of weird. I do think that the tone shift in that song around halfway through is kind of cool, though. It's a little different for NF. Oh, this is kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, but on Give Me a Reason, he's talking about, like, I miss the days when, like, critics were criticizing me, so I would have more motivation to do better. Like, I want somebody to call me a wannabe shady or whatever. Are people not still saying that? Like, I'm sorry, but, like, all of this music is coming from the perspective of like NF being like accepted into mainstream rap. Is he? I don't really think that's true. So like, why do you not still have the motivation to prove yourself? I feel like there are still plenty of people who would still call you a wannabe shady, and I still think that there are plenty of people who would not consider you a serious rapper. Kind of me included. It's like, why is that not motivation? I don't know, this song just confuses me. Maybe you were in an echo chamber. Maybe that's where all this like lack of motivation is coming from. People have brought up this next point in reviews for his previous albums, but I'm gonna bring it up again here. I don't get the whole radio friendly thing that he brings up in a lot of his songs. Like, dude, you are in the hip hop sphere and you don't cuss in any of your music. There's not a single cuss word in any of your music. And like, you don't think that you're radio friendly comparatively? Like, I have never gotten that. This music is so commercially friendly. All right, that pretty much covers all my bases, but I do want to take a second to explain why like I'm even bringing all this up and like why I'm being so harsh. And it's that like, I think NF actually does have some potential. I don't think he's this like terrible artist. Like, in terms of vocal performance, I think he's a pretty good rapper. I think he has shown himself to be, you know, a pretty good lyricist in the past and has shown like glints of being able to do like kind of an interesting concept album. So I think if he just kind of like tried something different and experimented, like he could actually make something that is really, really good and respected by a lot of people. I think like he has that potential, but he has just like pigeonholed himself into this very odd, kind of subgenre of rap, and that just is not very good. All right, I think that was decently reasonable. I was kind of toning it down a little bit. Let me know what you thought. Did you think it was reasonable? Was it not? Was it hot? Should I have dropped it? I don't know what I'm saying. Thanks for watching.